All right, guys, and welcome into Wagers on Campus. It is week one of the college football season here in 2025, and we cannot wait to get into it. What's up, everyone? I'm Mayor. Thank you for checking us out, and I am here with Burns.
Xander, please. Hello.
I'm here with Xander, and we are talking week one college football. Before we get into week one, I just want to say appreciate you checking us out. Thank you so much. If you enjoy our pod, please share it with your friends. We have fun doing this, and we're profitable in back-to-back years here in college football. So we're just trying to break down the games and talk bets and have some fun while doing it. But before we get into week one, week zero, Burns, a little week zero recap. Where would you like to start, sir?
Yeah, just start from the top. Kicks off in Dublin. And boy, was it nice to really get that feel of some hard-nosed college football back week zero. And we were actually gifted with some action to kick us off. Boy, that was sweet, wasn't it?
In terms of what?
Oh, we had a muff fumble. We had a muffed punt. We had a fumble on the pitchback on the goal line. We just had sloppy play everywhere. Handing the ball off on 3rd and 18. The first quarter was real action in Kansas State, Iowa State.
Yeah. Okay. Now I understand the adjective or verb, whatever it is that you're trying to use. But yeah, dude, it kind of felt like a practice game watching it, or at least maybe reflecting on it after the fact.
Yeah, and I think we need to have an honest conversation about this doubling game. Uh, first of all, we thanks to everyone that joined the live show on Friday. Uh, we covered everything weather-wise, and it looked like it should be clear by game time, and it's just pouring in the first quarter. So that was, that was annoying to say the least. Pulling it straight from the weather service, less than 18 hours before the game. So anyway, not. I mean, the field just wasn't built for American football, and they don't even have the yard lines. They just have five 5-yard increments, and they don't even have like the individual yard lines for any sort of measurement. And clearly, that bit Kansas State in the ass on a very iffy call early in the season. Not saying they would have won the game, but damn, that was just a brutal call by once again. We've got 60-year-old unathletic men spotting the ball for these just freaks out there on the field. That's for another conversation. Anyway, a couple notes I had. Iowa State stays healthy. They're easily a Big 12 title contender, if not the favorite. I mean, that defense looked stout the entire game. Kansas State looked the same first half, but kind of tapered off there in the second. Rocco Beck looks solid. Should be making the names out of a few of his wide receivers this year from how good his quarterback play. And Avery Johnson. If you're a Kansas State fan and you watched your team let Will Howard walk, I know he still wouldn't be there this year. But man, not quite ready to call it for the guy yet, but underwhelming by any standard for expectations coming into this year. And last note, one forearm. How thankful for you for one forearm, Alex?
What are you talking about?
The final offensive play of the game, forearm was ruled down short of the goal line that would have hit the over for bettors at home, and it was called back, and the under hits.
Yeah, for sure. A lot of thoughts on your end as far as that game goes. Overall, I mean, I felt like Iowa State made the plays when it mattered most, and Kansas State did not. And as far as Avery Johnson goes, honestly, I thought he played a pretty solid game. I thought it was the rest of the team that let Kansas State down. It wasn't really on Johnson.
Yeah, I don't know. I think His biggest issue is passing, and one broken play doesn't make up for the rest of the game. Obviously, talking about the play that uh, right after the kickoff in the fourth quarter, Iowa State goes up 10. Kansas State gets a broken coverage down the sideline, and he makes the throw. So props to him, but still thought it was less than above average.
As far as the undercashing and the over not hitting, you're right. I was incredibly lucky there at the end, but the fact we do have to keep in mind it was 7-7 with a minute and 10 seconds to go in the third quarter, and we got to that point. So kind of a double-edged whammy there.
Well, yeah. I mean, they did fumble at the 3-yard line and turnover on downs at the 10-yard line.
And
So
they
some
also
empty
muffed a punt.
possessions.
They also muffed a punt inside the 5-yard line too.
Well, that's what the Iowa State then fumbled that muff punt.
Right. No, I know. I'm saying it goes both ways.
Yeah. So, yeah, that was a good cash there. Good thing you changed, huh? You had Iowa State under 23.5.
Yeah, no kidding.
Mid-show, you said, give me the game under, actually. So what a loss by the hook.
For sure.
That's a great little intuition bet there.
Uh-huh.
Other games, just a few notes. Not really much to dive into. That Kansas State, Iowa State, obviously big Power Four implications, both contenders for that conference. But Kansas Fresno, I really love that over. Absolutely insane that over didn't hit. And Fresno looks, in my opinion, we're going to talk about one of their games in week one because most of these teams that played week 0 opted not to take a bye the next week. So they're all on the slate again. Fresno looks like one of the worst teams in the country offensively. Yeah, this game had 31 points at the end of the half. Overs 49.5. 7 combined points in the second half. That is a tough pill to swallow.
Yeah, it sure is. I was disappointed, Burns, that I didn't get to watch this game because in Jacksonville and some other areas in the South, like Fox was showing like your local preseason game. So I had Jaguars on Fox, and I couldn't find the Kansas game anywhere. So that kind of
no. Well, you didn't miss much of anything, to be honest, in the second half. Yeah, and probably the biggest surprise of week 0 was, and this is a late add to the card, so just glad it made it to the card to get us positive for the week. I added Idaho State first half, just from the entire team being transfers at UNLV, and boy, was it a shit show for this UNLV defense. Idaho State threw the ball 55 times, which is incredibly awesome for a FCS team to come out week 0. They had a 10-point lead in the first half. Alex Orji still cannot throw a football forward. Only threw it 3 times. Fumbled in the end on his way into the end zone as well. So that took more points off the board for UNLV. But Calandria looks like the guy going forward at UNLV. I think he had 100 yards rushing on top of like 300 yards passing. But yeah, I imagine right back to backup for Orgy.
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah, that was a really good bet on your end. What number did you get? Like 13.5?
17.5.
You got 17.5?
Yeah, on Friday it was up to 17.5.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean that line soared from when we talked about it on Wednesday. The game line was 23.5. It closed at 30.
Got it.
Yeah,
Damn.
that line got juiced up to 30 before kickoff.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, pretty sweat free. That was a very sharp pick.
More or less. Just we can't be on the favorites on everyone, right? Need some plus signs, or else we're gonna get dragged.
Yep.
Maverick McIver, 470 yards passing. Tell you what, though, Sam Houston State, I think I'm going to be sweating that under 4.5 bet because these boys are going to be throwing it. Phil Longo, he tried to implement that passing in Wisconsin. No luck. How about let's try it down in the CUSA? that's a better starting point to revamp an entire offense. Sam Houston State's going to be moving that ball, and Western Kentucky looks like a solid favorite. We have them in the conference championship game. That offense is clicking already.
Yeah, and I believe Sam Houston State plays UNLV this upcoming weekend.
They sure do.
Okay.
That's on my talking points for week 1.
Sure.
And then the final game, I mean, how great would this have been if it was 11 p.m.? Can you give me that?
Yeah.
I mean, everyone would have been sweating at 2 a.m. just for a last-second field goal. Oh, Hawaii, Stanford. First half was pretty good. Second half was sloppy. But Michael Aliato, quarterback from Hawaii, this dude is just a gamer, grit. What bad can you say about this kid? This kid is awesome. I mean, he's barely has one leg from an injury in the second half. I think first drive of the second half, and I mean, he's driving them down the field. He fucking scrambled for 15 yards on a gimp leg. I mean, this kid was awesome. And then we find out our kicker, who, when I say our, Alex and I were both on Hawaii. Our kicker is a YouTuber. He was on the team last year, though, but learn how to kick in Japan on YouTube. And this dude just nails a game-tying field goal with less than 4 minutes to go, game-winning field goal at the buzzer. And he had another one on there.
Exactly. And not even that it matters in college, but they weren't like 25-yarders either. They were like mid-range field goals.
Yeah, exactly.
The guy looked like Young Wei Koo out there.
Dude, I want both of those guys on my team. Hawaii travels to Arizona this week. That line's already up to 17.5. That definitely means books are protecting themselves against there's no official ruling of Aliato, but if he's out, Hawaii's going to struggle, to be honest. It's not like they would have beaten Arizona, but that line's already up to 17.5. It was like 12.5 just yesterday, I think, or on Sunday.
Okay. I mean, Stanford, man, they had that game in the bag. They totally fumbled that game away, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, they were driving. It was a really, really solid defensive play. Like jumping up, you usually see defensive ends bat that down, and the guy comes down with it, intercepts it. That's just a hat tip there to that defensive end. And the fact Hawaii was able to drive down the field on him, yeah, we'll see. I just had a note here that Stanford, that was their first rushing TD from a running back in 20 games in this game.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, over 2 seasons. And piggybacking on your take, I think Stanford will upset an ACC team this year. I think they have a really good coaching staff and they have some good players. They just, they failed execution this week, but I think they're going to be able to put together games where they don't inflict themselves with any game-ending wounds like they did there. So we'll see.
Yeah, I felt like had they just kept running the football, they would have came out of there with a win. And as far as the end of the game goes, I really, truly do not understand what Frank Reich was thinking by just letting the clock go down to 3 seconds to allow Hawaii to kick the game-winning field goal. I mean, he literally could have called a timeout with like 25 seconds to go. I don't get it. I really don't get it.
Yeah. I think it was just let's get this. We have an ice. Let's get this to the kick so they don't get to put it like any more towards the middle, maybe. I don't know.
Dude, I think sometimes just these older coaches, they're just like, you know what? Like, this is just the way I was taught football.
Yeah. And one final note, Aliato, no picks that game, still no interceptions. So suck on that.
What's that?
You said I was gonna curse him. I said he had no picks coming into the season, still has no interceptions.
Who's that?
The Hawaii quarterback.
Oh, did I say that?
Yeah, I said he had no interceptions last year in the last 2 games he played. And you're like, wow, reverse jinx coming in.
Yeah, I appreciate the callback. All right. Yeah, I mean, it was good to see football. I really enjoyed watching both the K-State Iowa State game and then Hawaii Stanford. That's pretty much what I got to watch. And you went 3-2 in week 0, and I went 2-1. So a nice week for the both of us to start the year.
Yep. I will say, last note on week 0, one of the biggest heartbreaks I might have all year. Obviously, I gave out 7-3. I also took 7-7. Didn't feel it was necessary to tweet out, but Kansas State scoring 5 seconds into the second quarter to make it 7-7, and that would have been a 17-1 hit. And also, he gets tripped up and kills my over first quarter bet. So 5 seconds after, oh man, that was just absolutely brutal. First play of the second quarter, getting that touchdown and getting 7.
Yeah, that's brutal, man. Sucks.
First game of the year.
Welcome back, football.
Yep.
So, moving on to news and notes before we go into week 1.
Yeah, for sure. Dylan Edwards, obviously brutal, not a brutal injury, but just brutal timing. Seems to be positive. Probably won't play this week, but x-rays were negative, and Chris Kleiman he seemed optimistic of him getting back sooner than later. So obviously having your star running back returning punts and getting injured on the first punt, not even taking an offensive snap, is just brutal. Makes me wonder if this will keep teams like Ohio State away from putting their best players back there, seeing something like this happen. But, I mean, it wasn't like a dirty hit or anything. It was just unfortunate. So hopefully he'll be back soon.
For sure. He's supposed to be one of the most electric players in the conference, so hopefully we see him back.
Yep. SEC moves to 9 games in conference and vows to play 1 Power 4 game. This is what you love to see.
Yeah. So basically that means out of the conference, they still have to play a tough game or a Power 4 game.
Yes.
Interesting.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. And basically, they probably heard my proposal, but it seems like we're kind of moving towards some sort of agreement between all the Power 4 conferences and just rotate. Everyone plays a Power 4 game outside of conference once a year.
Yeah. I mean, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I think that makes the game better, and it makes it more entertaining. Like we get Auburn Baylor like in week 1 this year. Like that's a fun game.
Hey, you just can't be afraid. We have to be able to get a measure of these teams, and when we have these Power 4 matchups out of conference, it makes you feel more comfortable taking a 2-loss team and versus Indiana's strategy of playing an FCS and 2 other CUSA teams.
Well, yeah. I mean, the committee said that they're going to weigh strength of schedule more heavily moving forward. So, I mean, that would be a reason to play tougher games. And, I mean, the college football playoff, we're already at 12, and I would imagine it's only going to get bigger here in the next couple of years.
Yeah. Of course, this comes up every year, it seems like, in some sport. But YouTube TV and Fox have some sort of issue with streaming rights or whatever. And that contract expires. We're recording now Tuesday night. That contract expires tomorrow, Wednesday, when this is released at 5 p.m. What the fuck's happening? How does this always happen right before we start? And the biggest game is usually on the slate.
Yeah, seriously, I don't have words. It's just so infuriating that we pay $90 a month for YouTube TV, and like you said, it seems like we go through this every fucking year. I don't. I don't even know what to say, man. I mean, what are you going to do? Go to a bar for Texas Ohio State?
Yeah, I guess. That's my thing. Yeah, I guess, obviously everyone's going to be like, well, not everyone has YouTube TV. But, for college football and sports, I mean, the quad box is fucking insane electric. I love the quad box. I love the multiple boxes. And you have the big TV. I mean, these are just like four small TVs right up on the wall. And yeah, so I would prefer not to get rid of YouTube TV for all those people like saying, let's cancel this bullshit. No other service offers the quad box, and that's a big draw for me. So yeah, that's annoying to say the least. Then I need them to figure that out.
Yes, me too, man. Me too. It's such bullshit. Like us as consumers paying so much money every year, and it's like, really, we got to deal with this now.
Yep,
It ain't right.
it ain't right, Alex. Let's go pick it wherever the hell they YouTube TV, probably in California.
California, no doubt.
God damn California. Care about surfing, don't care about pigskin. This is bullshit. Speaking of bullshit, Michigan names Bryce Underwood the starter for the year. Guess you pay someone money that's going to be there for a short amount of time. I guess they have to play, right?
Do you think he's going to be Bryce Underwood or Bryce Underwhelming?
Well, I made sure to tweet from the account. I don't want to see anyone uh, just putting that out there for this young man and Michigan fans to see. Such a rude nickname like Bryce Underwhelming. Kid's 18 years old. I mean, that would be a shame if that started to pick up some traction. And as soon as he doesn't perform up to standards, I just don't want to see Bryce Underwhelming anywhere on my timeline. I don't want to see that.
That's good, man. We need more people like you to stand up and use their voice, to stop bullying and name calling for these college football players. I'm excited that Underwood got the starting job. I think it makes Michigan more exciting to watch just from the star power alone, or the supposed star power. So I'm glad he won the starting job, and it makes me more interested to watch Michigan.
Do you think if they're not a 34.5 point favorite week one and they're playing, say, Texas week one, do you think he gets the starting job?
I do.
Okay. No faith in Mikey Keene, huh?
I don't know. You got to talk to the Michigan coaches about that. It's
Yeah,
not,
we'll
it's
see.
not, it's not that I had a problem with Keene, especially in 2023 when he had his real breakout season.
True. Yeah, and speaking of Michigan, one of the biggest scumbags that represents their university made some news last night. Did you see this?
Well, you said biggest scumbag. I'm thinking Portnoy.
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah. Story leaks last night, right around 10 o'clock Central. So, wee hours of the night, that Ohio State has banned Dave Portnoy, barred him from entering the stadium when, if you're not familiar, because, you're a college football fan and you watch College Game Day like most of us, uh, big noon kickoff, they start outside the stadium. And then for the final hour, they have a desk down on the field or in the stadium of whatever campus they're on site for. And the story was released that Portnoy was barred from Ohio State. Obviously, this morning, more starts to come out. Looks like Portnoy won't be at any conference games in any stadiums, and it's part of his contract that Fox just is going to move in the core crew. I think it's a smaller desk too. If you've seen Big Noon Kickoff, especially when they do Ohio State, they usually get a spot on the field. Sometimes they'll even just stand up because the desk they have to bring down there is so small and they're pretty cramped already. When you have like Reggie, Leinart, Woodson, Urban, and Rob. Rob, what's his name? The host. So that's five guys right there. So I thought that was just getting ahead of that, disingenuous. I thought it was ugly to spread some type of rumor like that. The Ohio State AD had to address it this morning and say it was Fox's decision. We have not barred anyone, and it's just you don't put anything past these scumbags like that.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I don't really know why Portnoy is part of the Fox Big Noon kickoff to begin with, as I mentioned a couple weeks ago. I mean, I don't blame Portnoy, for taking the deal, but I don't know why Fox would want him on the show. I really don't get it. I don't think Portnoy is like some smart, insightful college football guy. So I don't understand it. But whatever.
Just buying the base.
Yeah.
Trying to get that demographic.
Yeah.
Over to them because obviously clearly they're second fiddle to College Game Day, so they got to throw in anything they can. And you look at his timeline, and he has no shame, doesn't hide the nasty remarks he tweets about Urban Meyer from years ago, and that's a coworker now, and it's disappointing. It's disappointing to say the least, but it's good to hear that Fox, when crunch time comes around, this guy will not be nearby.
Yep, I'm fine with that.
All righty. Anything else we need to clean up before we dive into this lovely slate?
Well, I think we pretty much covered it. I mean, I know there was a couple of quarterback jobs that were announced, like Salter at Colorado won the starting job there, to not really anyone's surprise. Syracuse actually went with the Notre Dame transfer as opposed to the other kid that they had on the roster who was with LSU prior.
Yeah, Angeli.
Right.
They
Steve
went
Angeli.
with Steve Angeli, yeah.
Yep. So just a couple notes there. But no, I think we're good to go.
Yep. Luckily, we've avoided any other injury news. As we talked about last week, we had a couple big injuries start off the week. So glad to see everything is in just regular depth chart shape. And I'm ready to just absolutely dive in. We're going to, as opposed to big games first, we're just going to go down in days because college football this week starts on Thursday. We got a pretty nice little slate here Thursday, Friday as well. And so when you get off work, you're going to have just ready, get that nice seat on the couch ready because it's going to take some sitting this weekend.
Ooh, yes, sir. Yes, sir. So we're starting out Thursday at 5:30 p.m. Eastern. Sorry if I start announcing the games in Eastern time now. I'm a Florida guy. Forgive me. We got Boise State traveling to South Florida, traveling to Tampa to take on South Florida. This game's at Raymond James Stadium, home of the Buccaneers. It's on ESPN. And Boise State is a 6 to a 6.5 point road favorite. We have a total of 63.5. You don't have to worry about Fox and YouTube TV fighting on this one. So Burns, I will start by asking you, seems like both of these squads bring back a decent amount of production. Boise State, obviously, the broadcast is going to talk about losing Ashton Genty and how they're going to rebound with the loss of him and some other key players on the team. But all in all, they do return quite a bit of returning production, including their starting quarterback. So what are your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, and USF does as well. And that's not even counting that Byron Brown, their quarterback, got hurt in the first game last year pretty much and was out most of the year. So he's a key piece that wouldn't show up in returning production when it comes to weighing those types of stats because USF actually returns a little bit more. I mean, my biggest note here, listen, Boise needs to replace Genty. You just brought it up. But he's not just, your run-of-the-mill Heisman. I mean, he's one of the most prolific running backs in college football history. There have been 100 players, 100 on the nose, all time, to ever have 2,000 yards from scrimmage in the entire college football history. And Genty was third out of those top 100 all time. Mind you, looking at Barry Sanders, didn't even play a bowl game, and he's fourth all time in production. I mean, played 10 games that season. Could have had 3,000 yards if he played in a bowl game. Was just mind-blowing every time you look at Barry College stats.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, third all-time, 2,700 yards. I mean, if this backfield combines at Boise for 2,000 yards from scrimmage, that's still 75% of what Genty gave them last year, and they had to win some tight games. I mean, just a matter of fact, they're going to lose production when it comes to that side of the football. And I personally think that's why they are going to, lose some games that maybe wasn't expected. Uh, Offensively, they have Chris Marshall, who ended up getting hurt last year, red shirt. He's the big 5-star prospect that kicked out of Ole Miss. Didn't work out at Texas A&M. We talked about him last year on the preview show. And this year, he is the key figurehead in that wide receiver core that Madsen's going to need to rely on. And at some point, your star credibility and recruiting has to turn into an actionable item on the field. And I'm really not convinced after 2 years or so he's just going to be able to come in and dominate like he was recruited to. When I think of Boise State, I mean that's where my head's at. What about you?
I think USF had a disappointing year last year, despite their 7-6 overall record and 4-4 record in conference and a bowl game win. I think the results were very messy. You already mentioned their starting quarterback missed a considerable amount of time. I like their coach, Alex Golish. As I mentioned previously, they played Alabama really tough up until the fourth quarter last year, and they hung around in the first half against Miami until that game got away from them as well. So I don't think this team is going to be shy from the spotlight or a big or a kind of a more bigger notoriety team like Boise State. I expect USF to be frisky in this game, especially at home in hotter weather that Boise State might not be used to from a humidity standpoint. I certainly think USF has a legit chance to win this game outright. And my lean would definitely be USF plus the 6. We missed the number, Burns. They were 8.5 a couple weeks ago when we talked about it on this pod, but hey, it is what it is. I still like them plus the points.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, I mean, this USF team is returning their best defense to date under Golish. They've shored up a defensive line from UCF. They get a transfer and then a few transfers at the linebacker position that's already returning a tremendous amount of production. They're going to lack depth in the secondary. So that's what worries me when you have a Boise State team coming in that's going to rely on that pass game, because they do, we talk about returning production. Where does that come from? Boise State has 99 starts represented on the offensive line. So they're going to be the best offensive line in the Mountain West. They're going to be a nationally kind of touted offensive line when it comes as a unit. But when it comes to USF, let's talk about home field advantage. Kickoff is going to be a feels like temperature of 98 degrees with 61% humidity. Boise has not been dealing with that all summer, as these bowls have, these young South Florida bowls have been dealing with all summer.
No.
I also like South Florida with the points, and I actually, I like the over a little bit more. If you remember, Boise State got in a shootout last year, Georgia Southern, to kick off the season. I kind of like the over in the feeling out, and with what USF's quarterback Brown has to offer as well.
Yeah, and USF likes to play a fast tempo, and they're trying to even speed it up even more this year, is what I was reading. So I don't mind that play.
And if you'll see later, that money line might be sprinkled somewhere for me.
Yep, don't hate it. Moving on to Nebraska taking on Cincinnati. Travis Kelce, recently engaged Travis Kelce, is going to be in attendance for this one at Arrowhead Stadium in Kansas City. Will Compton will also be there for some Nebraska support. But this is
key stats.
this is your marquee game for Thursday. ESPN, 8 p.m. Central. The line is Nebraska -7. The total is 53.5. I'll give you my thoughts to start this one.
Please, the Nebraska Mayors.
Yeah, exactly. The Nebraska Mayors. I mean, I think with Coach Rule, I mean, you've seen a progression when he was at Temple. He really took a jump in year 3. And then when he was at Baylor, he really took a jump in year 3. So I think the expectations are similar for this Nebraska program. And I like the fact, Burns, that this game is closer to Nebraska's campus than it is Cincinnati's campus. I do expect there to be a lot more Cornhusker fans in attendance than Cincinnati fans, which I think will be advantageous for Nebraska. All in all, I think a lot of people are going to focus on Raiola, the quarterback for Nebraska, because he's the quarterback and the expectations around him are high. With that said, I think Nebraska as a team really just needs to elevate and support their quarterback. And that doesn't mean Raiola gets a free pass or he gets to be off the hook. But I think the team, offensively and defensively, needs to elevate and play up to their potential. I think Nebraska last season, they had some moments where they were, they had some big games, like, for example, at home against Illinois, and they lost that game. On the road against Ohio State, they played really close and lost that game. On the road at Indiana, they got their doors absolutely blown off. And I believe they lost a real close game to Iowa at the end of last year, a game that they just blew. So I just think Nebraska, this is the moment to set the tone. This is the moment, if you're Raiola, to say, look, I can put the team on my back and just, screw everything Mayer just said. I will be that guy and I will ball out. I think this is a real big spot for Nebraska, and I think it's right in front of them. It's just a matter of, in my opinion, will they take that step? And basically what we're talking here, Burns, is, win by a touchdown or more.
Yeah.
Which I think they can against a Cincinnati team who, don't get me wrong, I like Sorsby at quarterback. I think they're an improved team. Nonetheless, this isn't a Cincinnati team that's coming off the college football playoff. This is a team that's struggled over the last couple of years. So I think Nebraska covering a 6.5 or a 7-point spread isn't crazy. So that's kind of how I feel about it.
Would we make a name for ourselves if we were the first podcast to break into the comparison of Mahomes doesn't cover like more than one score spreads? So should we take that into effect for Raiola?
No, because you know what? Raiola is nothing like Mahomes outside of kind of looking like him.
Yeah, you're right. Much better. Better personality. Just seems like a better guy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, great stuff. Everything else, keep in mind, this is his 14th game. I mean, he started as a true freshman. So already made it to a bowl, has a bowl win under his belt. These are all positive steps forward for a kid like that. That's just growing into the game. Listen, a huge factor in what gives me optimism about this Nebraska team is adding Dana Holgorsen towards the end of the year. He got Raiola 72% completion percentage from when Dana took over in the last 4 games. So getting it back to keeping it simple. Say something about the Bearcats. Braden Sorsby, sneaky good rusher. I mean, close to 500 yards with 9 rushing touchdowns last year. I mean, this kid can extend plays. Nebraska added some talent from Kentucky and Cal at wide receiver, but when it comes to the production, it's still going to need a little bit of a feeling out period here. It's not like they're rolling with a well-oiled machine on offense. So when we have a nominee for Conference Defensive Player in the Year with Corleone on Cincinnati, and you had Golday and McDoom back there. I think this is a little bit better of a defense than what might be seen from the public. So I wouldn't sleep too much on Cincinnati here. I know it's going to be an away game, even though it's at Arrowhead. So pulled this number though. Since 2017, Nebraska's 16-6 to the under in non-conference opponent games. I like the under 53.5 on this Thursday night.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. Yeah, very excited to watch this game, and I think we're going to learn a lot about Nebraska. And yes, I think we're going to learn a lot about Nebraska based on the first game of the season. I know that's ridiculous to say, but the expectations are high. They need to meet. They need to meet them, in my opinion.
Meet or exceed.
Yep. Thursday, Big Ten Network, 8 p.m. Central. We have a MAC team, Miami of Ohio, traveling to Madison to take on Wisconsin. Wisconsin is a 17.5-point favorite. Over under is 39.5. What do you want to cover in this one?
Yeah, we got a couple. We've got a couple of Big Ten versus MAC games. By a couple, I mean we have 5 on the slate for this week. Did you know, Alex? 16 of the last 18 years, excluding COVID, shortened season, MAC team has beaten a Big Ten team.
Wow, that's probably more than I would have guessed. 16 out of 18 is a hell of a lot.
Yeah, I mean, obviously they're getting a lot. So week 1, we'll cover this game, but briefly here: Ball State, Purdue, Miami, Wisconsin, Buffalo, Minnesota, Western Michigan, Michigan State, Ohio, Rutgers. Out of those 5, does any team have a chance to beat the Big Ten opponent?
Yes, I would give the Buffalo Bulls a shot to beat Minnesota.
You love those bowls, you young bowl. Yeah, that's fair, because obviously a lot of these lines are going to be crooked. So might not happen this week, but there's more Big Ten MAC matchups coming up. So covering these two, I thought were really interesting. Look, a MAC team, when there's 5 games this week, Miami brings a good amount of transfer talent. Listen, we got guys from Notre Dame, Indiana, Washington, Texas A&M, Florida State. All these guys have yet to prove, like, from their high school ranking. All right. So these are coming from big schools, but it's not like it's talent from the big schools. They're looking for an opportunity to build that game tape,
Sure.
get some actual playing time. DeQuan Finn returns to quarterback a team in the MAC. Some would call him a cancerous traitor, but those would be nasty, nasty people who would say something like that. Again, don't want to say these things to these young men just trying to make their way. Although now these young men are like millionaires, so maybe they can take a little bit of razzing.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, no, he'll be good. He's going to need to run this game. Listen, this is crazy, but 0 full-time returning starters on that offensive line from Miami from last year. And Wisconsin loses some depth at defensive back, but they are going to be stout on the second level and defensive line. So having that offensive line inferiority leaves me to believe that this will not be the MAC upset of Wisconsin. Billy Edwards transferring in from Maryland for Wisconsin, starting at quarterback. I think it's a good opportunity. Game 1 to, Wisconsin offensive line will also be one of the best in the entire country, as always. Just a factory up there. So I think he'll have a capability to really ease into this offense and get another few reps and game speed that they are missing from a wide receiver standpoint. And I think Wisconsin ends up pulling away, and I actually like Wisconsin to cover this, even though we like Miami in the MAC to produce. This game I don't think matches up very well from the trenches, to be honest.
Yeah, for sure. I see the angle. I like it. That sounds good. I don't have anything to add. You want to move on to Friday?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. So starting off on Friday, 6 p.m. Central, FS1, Western Michigan taking on Michigan State. Michigan State's a 19.5-point favorite. Over-under's 49.5. Look, it's Aiden Childs time. It's Jonathan Smith time. I expect I'm not say big things out of Michigan State, but I expect them to come out with some authority this year, especially after last year, Burns, when they really struggled against Florida Atlantic for a lot of that game to open the season until finally pulling away late. What are your thoughts here?
Yeah, I agree. Again, a lot of inexperience on this defense, and there's going to need to be a lot of new faces shining. I mean, that's the greatest part about college football, just because there isn't really that much experience. We talk about this a lot. Doesn't mean there isn't room to shine, especially when we're coming into a season. It's a little different when we're talking about inexperience in week 8 or 9, but we're talking about week 1 here. So everyone has to start padding those stats at some point in their career, right? So 4 transfers on the O line should help. Really atrocious line from last year. Um, I'm concerned about the front 7 on the defense. Wayne Matthews should be a big leader and anchor in the middle, but again, that lack of production is going to be a big question mark. And then Western brought in a JUCO quarterback, Brady Jones. Just threw for the ho-hum 4,000 yards, 40 plus TDs last year. Don't care if it's in JUCO. You're throwing it around like that. You've got the arm talent. So that ability to move the ball down the field, of course, playing as an underdog and having probably the best running back in the MAC in Jalen Buckley, this would actually be my pick for a potential upset here. I do like Western Michigan. I think you could find plus 20.5 at some books. But I would not be surprised at all if there is a close game, 1-score game in the fourth quarter in this matchup.
Sure. I mean, we've seen these MAC teams be frisky before, and this is one of those interstate. I don't want to call it a rivalry, but yeah, I mean, there's probably some animosity there.
Yeah.
So it always seems like Michigan State opens the year with either Western, Central, or Eastern. So yeah, it wouldn't be shocking to see Western cover, especially such a big number. Georgia Tech taking on Colorado. This one should be fun. Friday, 7 p.m. Central, ESPN. Georgia Tech currently is a 4.5-point favorite. Over under is 54.5. Obviously, on the Colorado side of things, everyone is curious to see how they're going to look without Shedeur Sanders at quarterback and Travis Hunter at wide receiver / corner. I'm glad Dion is going to be on the sideline for this game. Colorado is going to have a brand new quarterback in Caden Salter, a transfer. And I think it's natural to expect 2 things at once. Colorado lost some really good players on their team from last year. At the same time, this is Dion's 3rd year in the program, and I like what I've seen in terms of year 1 to year 2 and what he's done at Colorado. I think he's done a good job. So you have those 2 things kind of contrasting themselves. As far as Georgia Tech goes, though, Burns, we've talked about this team a lot so far leading up to the season, and we both really like them. We like their head coach, Brent Key. We think he's an absolute dog. We think he's an absolute motivator. We like their quarterback, Haynes King. And we just like the general direction that Georgia Tech has been trending over these last couple of seasons. I mean, hell, you remember a couple of years ago when they opened the season, I believe on a Friday night in Atlanta, and they upset somebody. Maybe it was Louisville. I don't quite remember, but it was a hell of a game, and they were underdogs in that game. But Georgia Tech, the leap that I think they're going to have to make this year, if they really want to be legit contenders, is that they need to take care of business when they're favorited, because they always seem to rise up when they're dogs, and when they're favorited, sometimes they take their foot off the gas. I think this is a really good spot for Tech, man. I'm super high on them. I think Georgia Tech covers the 4.5 in this one.
Yeah, I think those are strong points by you. A few other housekeeping notes that I pulled here. Um, listen, they pulled in a good running back on Colorado, Dallas Hayden. He'll unfortunately be out for this week one. Uh, Not necessarily was going to be the starter, but that's a little depth that you're worried about. Small note, Dion's 4-0 against the spread as a home underdog. Currently a home underdog, week one, under the lights. Have to be concerned about that. But also, of those 4 games, none of them were outright wins, just a cover machine.
Wow.
Yeah. Caden Salter officially named starter. Talked about that here briefly earlier. Listen, Colorado does reload at wide receiver, though. They really bolstered their offensive line, too. That's been a detriment in past couple seasons. But, there's now a veteran at quarterback, and they're going to have plenty of talent surrounding him. Still worried about what the run game looks like. That's been the biggest detriment to this team, just kind of running a Shador offense versus a regular offense. Have to wonder if him departing, if that means they'll attempt to get to the run game, but also can't put the entire blame on him when that offensive line was just putrid. Looked like the Chicago Bears on a Sunday. Uh, Look at Georgia Tech and their
Whoa.
offense. Impressive. They do not need to only rely on Haynes King in this game. Like they can run the ball. They'll be able to do that. Dion has when he plays in big games, like when ranked teams come and his ranked opponents, it seemed to put on a show, in my opinion. So I don't believe that it's an kind of a insurmountable task for Georgia Tech to conquer this kind of revamped, defensively strong defense. I lean Colorado +4 in a close game, but I really like the over. I've got 38-35 Georgia Tech.
Yeah, that would be a hell of a way to kick off week one. A lot of points in a close game like that. Although I'd be fucking pissed if I didn't cover the 4.5.
It's a weird number.
Yeah, it is. I think it was lower when the line initially opened. I think it was at one point like 3 or 3.5. Um,
Yeah, it's just one of those numbers that it's like it's not going to get down to 3 or 3.5. Like
not at this point.
it's just not going to get down there without any major news coming out. So you're just kind of stuck with it. And if it's a close field goal game, you're going to be sweating your ass off, hoping for something to bounce your way.
Yeah, exactly. That's why you always have the option to take the other side. It's like people forget if the 5.5 is making you feel creepy to lay it, you can always just take the plus sign.
I have a
Um,
feeling that a lot of 2 or 3 leg parlays are going to have Georgia Tech money line in them.
Man, you really think so? You think like Colorado is going to be faded like that
Yeah, dude. They are being faded like that.
by the
Let me
sharps?
no by everyone. Hold on. Where the hell? There we go.
What the
Uh,
hell?
what the helly? Let's see. What's the official number? God bless. There we go. 95% of the money coming in right now is on Georgia Tech spread.
God damn.
Yeah, 72% of the tickets. But sharp money is indicating Georgia Tech. So,
So the expectations are high. All right. Auburn Baylor Friday 7 p.m. Central on Blackout Fox. No one's going to watch this game because no one can see it. Baylor, a 2.5 point home dog. Over under is 57.5. Burns, where would you like to start in this strange but entertaining SEC versus Big 12 matchup to kick off the year?
yeah, 2 middling teams the last couple of years in their conferences. So it is a strange matchup. It'll be a big win for either team, optic wise, um, just coming out of week one. Um, Baylor adds CUSA's Depoy. So to their already stout linebacking core, should probably be the best front seven in the Big 12, if we're being honest. And for any opponents looking to establish a run, it's going to be tough sledding. Auburn obviously has one of the best wide receivers in the country in Cam Coleman, but Jackson Arnold can be a little frisky when it comes to mobility. So we'll see. Sawyer Robinson on the Baylor side has a platoon of senior wideouts. I expect a tough out on any given Sunday from this team, especially when they're being able to host this home opener. Auburn has 120 starts on O-line, one of the top O-line units in the entire country, definitely the most tenured. So that's going to be solid for a quarterback that, to be honest, I'm not very high on. I think Jackson Arnold is a similar to Spencer Rattler, just moving around, hiding his faults and looking for the next starting job. And I just wonder how much of a stud like Coleman can pull him out of potentially poor quarterback decisions. Tigers kind of bolstered their second level with some transfers, but their biggest issue is they lack experience. They got transfers, but these aren't transfers that were getting significant playing time at all. So with that, and with the home field advantage and everything Sawyer Robinson can bring, I like Baylor pulling away late, and I like Baylor money line. Give me that plus sign.
Yeah, man. I feel like with Hugh Freeze at Auburn, like is do you feel the same way that it's just been off with him being there?
Uh, yeah, I guess somewhat, maybe. I don't
Okay.
feel like it's a necessarily a massive disconnect. I just feel like they had their big seasons. Cam Newton, obviously, and they're still just second fiddle in the state to recruiting and then to other SEC teams as well. I just feel like that prestige isn't there. It's not really his fault or whatever it may be. Just kind of stuck.
Dude, they haven't won a bowl game since 2018. The
Yeah,
Music City Bowl.
there we go. You
Yeah.
were probably there.
Right. I think they played Purdue. But the expectations for the program are extremely high. And obviously at Baylor, their expectations are high too. But all in all, I mean, I do agree with you regarding Jackson Arnold. I'm not super high on him. I definitely would prefer Baylor's quarterback, Sawyer Robinson, over um, Jackson Arnold. And Baylor being at home, I mean, being disrespected as a dog. I mean, talk about Dave Aranda being able to use some motivating tactics. I don't know if that's allowed in the college locker room, but I mean, you could say like, guys, we're underdogs at home. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Um, against an SEC team in Auburn that they've just been mediocre over these last couple of years. And obviously, if they go out and make a statement on the road Friday night under the lights in Texas in front of everyone, then it's like, okay, you got our attention, boys. But I can't trust Auburn to pull out this win away from home to start the year, especially when Baylor closed out the year as strong as they did last season, and Sawyer Robinson, their quarterback, is coming back. So I'll take Baylor in the plus money as well.
Whoa. We got to be careful here kicking off the season. Both at Hawaii, both like Kansas State. We can't be, man, if we're just tailing each other, what's going to happen, Alex? I'm scared.
You took Colorado +4 against my lock of the week in Georgia Tech.
I said I like the over more. I don't know if Colorado's going to make my card, especially with you sitting with a lock on the other side.
I'm just trying to point out our discrepancies. And I think we have a discrepancy coming up for sure as we turn the page to Saturday. And we are going to be talking Northwestern against Tulane. Saturday, 11 a.m. Central, ESPNU, Tulane. Last time I checked, Burns, they were. I think this line is down to 5. Tulane is a 5-point favorite. Over under is 46.5. Yeah, what do you think about this one? Big Ten going to Tulane.
Yeah, Bayou Jew gets to make a splash in his new home. We're coining that, by the way. He can, of course, use it for whatever he likes, but no one else can. Um, yeah, I mean, shockingly, dude, this Tulane defense, and it's his hand up on us for not highlighting this a little bit more in the AAC preview. Only allowed 178 yards through the air last year per game. Obviously, you benefit playing teams like Navy and Army, but take that away. I mean, they held that Oklahoma team with a ton of studs at wide receiver. Obviously, didn't pan out for most of the season, but still, they held them to like 170 yards when they played them week 3. So a lot of returning production, and they actually have a lot of NFL talent, legit NFL talent. Not a lot, but a couple guys right there on the defensive line and in the linebacking core. So this front seven, I'd say it's the best in the AAC. So Northwestern, is going to travel well with their defense, but don't sleep on Tulane's defense. Obviously Northwestern adding Preston Stone is probably their uh, biggest addition to quarterback in the last 5 years. A good talent. Definitely capable of turning up a game, and he just might have the worst wide receiving core in the Big Ten, though. That's the one thing
Oof.
that yeah, yep. So I think with Northwestern, just like Wisconsin, they'll kind of always be there in the trenches, and with a team that's still ramping in a quarterback from just 3 weeks ago. This is a game that I actually like the under in this game. I couldn't really figure a side. It is trending towards a lot of money's coming in on Northwestern, so that line keeps ticking down. I do like a 20-13, 20-14 game.
I mean, you're a very smart man if you're talking Northwestern football and unders. Yeah, that correlates throughout the years. I think that's a good look. Tulane has been a very solid program for a couple of years now, and you're right. Their defense is good, as is Northwestern's. Northwestern's usually is an under the radar, pretty solid defensive team. It's usually the strength of their squad, sometimes just because the offense is so bad. But yeah, I'm excited that they added Preston Stone at quarterback, the SMU transfer. And as far as Tulane goes, I mean, I think they'll be pretty good throughout the season, but Jake Retzlaff, their starting quarterback, he just transferred there like a month ago. So I don't know how quickly they're going to be able to be successful on the offensive side of the ball against a Northwestern defense, which I expect to be pretty solid. So I think your underplay is valid, and I would agree with that. And I mean, I locked in Northwestern +7 about 4 weeks ago. So
Wow.
that's what I'm on.
Okay. Yeah, I mean that's totally fair. That's a good number and clearly sharp side of it, Alex.
Yep.
You're the one moving it.
And I might add that under to my card as well because I do like that angle. Okay. Some people's game of the week: Texas at Ohio State, Saturday at 8 p.m. Saturday at 11 a.m. Central. This game will also be blacked out as it is on Fox. So Burns, get that radio ready. Get that radio dial ready, Poppy.
I will never turn down listening to Paul Keels on the Sirius XM app. So don't tempt me with a great time.
Right? Listening to the radio is such an underrated lost art that these young kids have no idea about.
Yeah, truly. Sirius XM is a great. Every time I just have to renew. I argue with. I just forget that the year expires. They charge me $30 once. I say I'm going to cancel, and they're like, "Well, how about we just charge you $9 a month for the next year?" Fine, I won't cancel. I'll pay $9. That's what it's worth.
It's like, geez, guys, that's what it took.
Yeah, just
Give me
just split up the $30 in the year and let me pay $11 in perpetuity. We'll call it even.
I gotta say, there is not much better than listening to a hockey game on the radio and your favorite team is at home and the game's in overtime and they score a game winner in OT. And you hear the horn. They score. You're just like pumping your fist in the car as you hear the horn going off.
Wow. I did not expect that coming up today. But you're
Highly,
right.
highly recommend. It's
That's
awesome.
right. All right, reset the scene. Texas at Ohio State, Saturday, 11 a.m., Fox at the Horseshoe, minus one particular member of the big noon kickoff, rightfully so. This line is down to Ohio State minus 1.5. Total is 47.5 as of Tuesday at 7:45 p.m. Central Time. 1 versus 2. We got the top 2 national championship favorites going off. What more can you ask for week 1? Especially first game on a Saturday, too. That is kind of a nice thing, not just waiting for the build-up. But a ton of names missing from just 6 short months ago when these teams met in the semifinal of the college football playoff. But this isn't your local high school team just reloading on whoever ends up showing up in the upcoming class. These are two of the top 2 programs in the entire country that are reloading. So I'm not sure I'd be too worried about these specific teams when it comes to monitoring the stats of returning production, right? I think the biggest official debut of one of those new players will be, of course, Arch Manning, the Texas QB room. He's been waiting in the wings for 2 seasons, so very familiar with this offense. Obviously, we've seen him just a little bit, but not in a full starting capacity. So now it's time to shine. O-line. This is going to be tough. Returns 1 starter on that Texas O-line. But they will benefit this game as Ohio State, on the other side, returns 0 starters on the defensive line. So a little bit of a nice game to kind of get this younger offensive line set in. They might have the best second level in college football, though, on that linebacking core. That's Texas, obviously led by Anthony Hill. Big name, going to be in every sort of award category. T-Bob Herbert had him winning the Heisman. Pretty hilarious. Not even capable of grabbing that. But, they lose 2 studs in the secondary. First team All-American and third team SEC. So losing that type of talent definitely going to leave question marks in the season, especially on the offensive line gets good by no defensive line returners. How about this question marks in the defense? How about they have to play the best wide receiver room in the entire country? So a little bit of a give and take here when it comes to matchup-wise. Trey Wisner is going to shoulder the load for Texas after splitting with Jaden Blue last season. Blue has gone to the NFL. Listen, when I look at Texas' side, it's going to come to some guys that aren't on the playing field, right? Sark, under the microscope for sure. Not necessarily, by no means a hot seat, but definitely a microscope. Because no SEC title with these teams that he's put together at Texas. And he's been beat by Kirby, DeBoer, and Day 5 times in the last 2 seasons. That's definitely not sitting well with those boosters that are paying for these fancy upgrades to everything, everywhere. And then when it comes to the Ohio State Buckeye side, Julian Sayin leading the charge, a redshirt freshman quarterback, obviously recruited by Nick Saban, left upon Saban's departure. He'll be blessed with one of the best wide receiving rooms we've seen in the last decade. And but he'll also have a lot of new faces on the running back side. James Peoples returns, but C.J. Donaldson from West Virginia. It's going to be interesting to see who pulls away as the feature back there and what they want to do as an offense this year. Obviously, with Henderson and Judkins last year, it was a very, very productive backfield. But one of their biggest faults last year was their O-line. Surprisingly, they have sneaky 85 starts under their belt with what they've been able to put together from just returning starters and also a couple transfers in. So on defense, biggest question mark, like we said, will be defensive line. You land a stud like Bo Atkinson from UNC. He should bring some veteran leadership to a unit that has players that have been waiting in the wings. Again, I think you'll find a lot of these top teams are not going to be loaded with transfers everywhere. They're going to win recruiting a lot of years, and a lot of players still want to progress through elite programs, and Ohio State has big names that are going to be on the D line it's their time to shine. So secondary will be a no-fly zone, obviously being spearheaded by Caleb Downs. True freshman Devin Sanchez, 5-star, will be ready to go. And if Davison Igbinosun wants to lead the league again in penalties resulting in first downs, I think that the young guy might be able to get some work in there. So they have the depth at corner. They're going to losing a player like Cody Simon, but Sonny Styles is now the 0 linebacker. For those that don't know Ohio State, you wear 0. That's a privilege on the defense. And listen, when it comes to a side that I'm going to play in this game, I think both are going to be tight game. I think it's going to be a little looser than a playoff game would be, though. So I wouldn't be surprised if this game snuck into the over, being only at 47. I have Buckeyes winning 31-24.
Yeah, solid analysis. What do you expect the performances to look like, just in your opinion, of Arch Manning and Julian Sayin?
Of course, didn't touch on just Ohio State has 2 coordinators as well. So, I could definitely see a feeling out process in the early quarter. So maybe a first half under, go to the locker room, and a lot of points come out at half. Arch is obviously going to have a lot more confidence. Still like the road test, and I like this being at home for Sayin's first game versus another game we'll talk about here in another big game. So I think Arch has a slight advantage being able to start a couple. Doesn't matter who they're playing against, but there's still a lot of new faces from last year, like I was highlighting. So he's got to work in, just like any other new starting quarterback would work in.
Yep, for sure. I mean, everyone's going to have their own opinion on this game because it's the biggest game of the weekend. And it's tough to predict. To be honest, I do give Texas the slight advantage. And I think I give Texas a slight advantage because of Arch Manning. And I don't even know if that's fair to Julian Sayin, because we'll find out what he actually looks like on a college level here in just a couple of days. But if roles were reversed and you said, okay, Arch Manning is on Ohio State and Julian Sayin is on Texas, I would be on Ohio State in this game. So I think for me, it just comes down to a little bit more comfortable with the quarterback situation. And again, you could be like, Mayor, what are you talking about? Arch Manning has started no games in his career. He's barely played. And I hear what you're saying, but the hype, the expectations, the leadership that he commands, the reports that we've heard, I'm buying into it. I'm buying the stock. So at the end of the day, that's what it comes down to for me. I think this game will be tight, and I think Texas wins by a field goal. But that's just how I see it.
Yeah.
Who cares?
Yeah. Yeah, fair.
Anything else in that game, Burns?
No, I don't think so. I'm definitely expecting a good game for sure.
Okay. Another 11 a.m. Central game, while that one goes on ABC, is Syracuse taking on Tennessee at the Mercedes-Benz Dome in Atlanta. Tennessee, a 14-point favorite. The over-under is 50.5. As far as this game goes, Burns, I think Tennessee is getting a little bit too much respect. I know they're going to have a home crowd advantage, given that the game is in Atlanta and Knoxville is pretty close. And there's just a lot of fans in the area in general. But I'm not sure if I can lay 14 points with Tennessee when they downgraded at quarterback. They lost a very good running back in Dylan Sampson. They lost edge rusher James Pierce. And Syracuse, you could say, well, they lost Kyle McCord and Gadsden. I don't think he's coming back. Is that right? I think Gadsden got drafted.
Yeah.
But Syracuse is still a program that went 10-3 last year. They're still a team that did pretty decent in the transfer portal. And I think I have no interest in fading a program that went 10-3 last season to say, you know what, I'm going to lay the 14 points with Tennessee, who I think has quite a few question marks themselves after somewhat of a turbulent offseason as a whole. So all that to say, I like Syracuse to cover 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, for sure. This is a stay away game for me. Just way too many question marks everywhere on both sides. Yeah, I mean, the production lost in Syracuse is just tough to ignore. I know I hear what you're saying on Tennessee, but I think Aguilar is more than serviceable, and I'm just going to stay away because I could on the other side I could see Tennessee winning by like 30.
Yeah.
Just
All
think
right.
they have strong enough defense.
Sure. Reflected in that total of 50.5. So next game, Toledo, your boys, the Toledo Rockets at Kentucky. Saturday, 11:45 a.m. Central on the SEC network. Kentucky -8. Over under is 47.5. What do you think, Burns? Do you think Toledo is going to pull off the outright upset?
I think it's very possible, to be honest. When I look at this team, I see a complete team. I see a team that last year lost all 5 starters on their offensive line, and it paid. Toledo has always liked to run first in a spread type offense, and they weren't able to do that last year, and it showed. And yet they were still able to easily get to a bowl, and so and beat a Pitt team as well in that bowl. So I think a lot of momentum. Uh, One of the best defensive back rooms in the entire country, not just in the MAC. I know people laugh at me for saying that, but they're starting to prove it with draft picks resulting into NFL key production. When we look at Kentucky, Carter Boley, question marks at starting QB, question marks everywhere. I think on the defensive side, they're going to be one of the worst defensive teams in the SEC as a whole. I'm saying all this. Um, they weren't very impressive last year, and Ohio wins the MAC championship and has 11 wins, and Kentucky beat them 41-6. So, I think Mark Stoops, he's a really good coach, and he doesn't take any team lightly. So, not saying that Mississippi State took Toledo lightly last year in that complete beatdown, but I think what Jeff Leddy inherited, a complete wipe of the program, is a little different. I'm not going to play money line here. I really like it's sitting at actually plus 9.5. I might just buy the hook to 10. But I like Toledo with the points here. I think they're talented enough to keep this a close game into the fourth quarter, and that's where we can start talking about possibly a live money line play. But I will not be betting them pregame money line.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, your boys went into Mississippi State last year and blew out the Bulldogs. So it's not like they are not capable of going on the road and beating an SEC opponent. Burns, do you like Tucker Gleason?
Yeah. Yeah, I think he showed a lot in that final bowl game. I think he's more than a serviceable quarterback. As bad as their offensive line was, they only allowed 20 sacks all of last year. And I think that has a lot to do with, his mobility. He's not going to burn you with the speed, but he'll definitely extend some plays where need be. And, yeah, I like what he can do. And I trust him running this offense.
Okay. Do you think it's appropriate for a white quarterback to have a sleeve on his left arm?
Yeah, not a Nike sleeve, a tattoo sleeve is what he's referring to. Yeah, I mean, more power to him. You don't really see quarterbacks with sleeves, especially, yeah, like you said, the white quarterbacks. I mean, I can't even remember one that's played in the NFL. That
No, I can't either.
I'm just
I,
trying
I was
to
gonna I was gonna
rack
say he
my
has
brain.
he has franchise quarterback written all over him. Just let that hair keep growing.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, cool. So marquee game Saturday afternoon, ABC, 2:30 p.m. Central. We got Alabama taking on Florida State in Tallahassee. Alabama is a 13.5 point favorite, and the over-under is 50.5. Burns, the way I see this game, at least right now, is I think Bama has a lot of big hosses on offense and defense that they are basically bringing to the squad this year. I think Bama's defense is going to be a problem. On the flip side of that, as you mentioned in the notes, looks like Jam Miller, Alabama running back, is out in this game. And it is Ty Simpson's first start of the year, and it's not like he's played a whole lot in his career. Now he's going on the road against a Florida State team that certainly is looking to bounce back after last year's embarrassment. I just don't see this game being super high scoring and super electric. I guess the over could hit if Florida State's defense is horrific and Alabama scores 40 on them. Then I could see making the case. But I don't think Florida State is going to be lighting up the scoreboard against this Bama defense. I do not see that happening. So overall, I think I like the under as of now.
Sure. Yeah, I will say props to Alabama for not pushing for a neutral site game here. Actually getting a true road game, because there's nothing worse than two teams meeting with big prestige, and then you find out it's like at Mercedes-Benz. It's like, oh great, this is college football, not NFL. The best part about college football is the home field advantage. So glad that they'll be at Doak Stadium. And listen, man, Thomas Castellanos just cannot get out of his own way. It's a benefit that it's at home. If you remember, just to remind everyone, Alabama doesn't have Nick Saban to save them. I just don't see them stopping me. Quote Thomas Castellanos. I think it's going to be scary, his confidence in offensive firepower. I don't know if they know, but you go back and watch every first game that I played in, we always start fast. Oh man, there's not a podium that this guy won't get behind and make someone know what he's thinking. And I got to tell you,
put a muzzle on it, buddy.
Yeah, that's this concerns me because where Alabama won't be lacking is the trenches. I agree. Ty Simpson's have a big road ahead of him, a true road game. This is going to bleed into the evening there at a 3:30 start Eastern, so it's going to be chaotic. And I think with Jam Miller out, that's tough. But Alabama's going to want to control the game. I do like 50.5 as well under. I would also, I mean, this would be a Friday ad, but yeah, I would lean Florida State plus 13.5, but that's one of those bets where you're holding that ticket and it's Alabama 27-0 at halftime. And you're just
Sure.
like, you won't even let anyone know you bet on that game.
Yeah. I think I agree with you. I think Florida State, I think there's a world where Simpson really struggles and Florida State pulls off the outright dub.
Good. I think it's like plus 470. You should sprinkle on it.
Okay. All right. Noted. UTSA taking on Texas A&M Saturday at 6 p.m. Central, ESPN. Texas A&M, I believe this line is up to 24, I want to say, 24.5. A&M is favored by. Over under at 57.5. What do you think here, man?
Yeah, not really much on this game. This line just really jumped out at me. Texas A&M has kind of gotten off to slow starts the last couple years, and UTSA is a formidable foe that um, I don't know, man. I just if this line keeps creeping above, it just feels like they're nowhere close to UNLV's where like transfer capability, but just talking out loud, like Texas A&M should not be laying that many points without proving that they are worth that many points. That's the only reason I added this game here. And depending how my day's going, I'll probably be on UTSA.
Yeah, and UTSA takes these games against the Texas schools very seriously.
Oh yeah,
And their head coach, their current head coach, has a lot of university pride around San Antonio for UTSA. So it's a big deal, especially for the underdog um, in these games.
I agree.
Okay. Well, we'll move on and we will talk about the big night game after we know the outcome and the results of Texas, Ohio State, Alabama, Florida State. We get LSU and Clemson. Are you kidding me? Saturday, 6:30 p.m. Central on ABC. Clemson is at home in this game. This is not a neutral site game. Clemson is laying 4. I think I saw it down to 3.5 on my book, but yeah, 3.5 to 4. Clemson is laying over under at 57.5. LSU, man, they continue to open up their years with difficult games. I remember a few years ago it was Florida. It was Florida State. Florida State actually in back-to-back years. Yeah, Florida State in back-to-back years. And then last year they played USC out in Vegas. And now this season they are on the road at Clemson in Death Valley at night.
Yeah, man. This is both teams Death Valley.
Right.
Pretty crazy.
I was like, wait.
The Battle of Death Valley. A real Undertaker matchup here. Yeah, shout out to any Attitude Era fans there. But yeah, I'm seeing a lot of pundits. This line just kind of bounced back and forth between 3.5 and 4. Man, when I see these two teams, it's like one team is getting a ton of offseason praise in Clemson, and because they returned so much talent, so much production. Obviously Klubnik's staying there for his third year. It's interesting, right? When I compare these two teams, they're pretty similar. I'd have this game as a pick 'em on a neutral site, and I think this line kind of reflects that as well. LSU, I just think they are going to find out right away if this is going to be a game that they can hang with, because they're starting 5 new players on O-line, got a new kind of scheme in there. So, obviously Toledo isn't at the same level, but that's the one thing you want a ton of continuity is with the line. And Nussmeier is a strong enough quarterback. I can expect that ball to be gone pretty quickly. When we talk about defensive player of the year, we awarded Peter Woods at Clemson. I mean, that D line is going to be a problem for sure. When I think about a side, though, I worry about Clemson's depth. We talk a lot about what they've built and their lack of transfer participation, and it's built a lot of positivity at face value. But when we go into the depth and we look at further beyond that, I'm a little worried for Clemson here. Injury or two could really immediately put some question marks in this team. I think LSU, this is their season. I've obviously been high on them. I have them in my national title, and I think this is a signature win for this team on the road.
I like it. I mean, I expect LSU's defense to show up to the party. They better. Otherwise, they're going to be in a world of trouble in this game. The defense needs to help out the offense in this one. And honestly, the team just needs to play complementary football. Like, they can't be bullshitting around with the fucking pre-snap penalties and, bullshit holding and just some LSU non-disciplined or lack of discipline nonsense that we've seen from them from time to time over the last couple of years. This is going to be a tough environment to play in at night to start the year. As you mentioned, 5 new starting offensive linemen for the Tigers. I mean, I think Kelly and the coaching staff obviously has been talking about it all offseason. I think they're very much aware of it, and they've been game planning for this game for months. So I expect them to have a plan. But really, LSU, man, I'm so tired of seeing themselves shoot themselves in the fucking foot. They just need to get out of their own way, play a clean game, play complimentary football, and go win the Natty. It's that simple, right? I think LSU will keep it close. I would also lean taking them plus the points. However, if I'm going to look at the other side fairly and objectively, Clemson being at home is an advantage. Clemson has a ton of talent on their side as well. And your point specifically about Clemson's D-line against LSU's offensive line is concerning, especially if we know kind of right from the get-go that this is going to be like a real problem and Nussmeier's taking like sack after sack.
Yeah.
Then we're in big trouble. So I don't know if I'll have a wager on this game. I don't have anything currently on it. But obviously super exciting. Very exciting game.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to that game, obviously, with a lot of stipulations involved. Nussmeier, Heisman. I mean, this is a statement game early in the season you'll look back at. And, obviously the national championship. I will say giving him number 18, like that's been like a number that – did you see that unveiling? They like gave out special numbers to like the leaders of the team. Maybe
really?
it's something they're wanting to. Like 7's always been a number there, defensive side.
Yeah.
So Perkins got 7. Weeks got a number as well. And Nussmeier got 18. And the tweet was like, this is a leadership number at LSU. Not since Matt Mock has someone wore number 18. It's like, oh, Matty Mock. That's an all-time throwback college quarterback name.
Yeah. I think LSU is going to come into this game very focused and very much not wanting to embarrass themselves like they did last year against USC. That doesn't mean that they're going to come out of there with a win because they're playing a very good opponent on their home field. But I do think LSU is going to be ready to go, personally. So, moving on to Sunday. Yes, we have football on Sunday, and thank the Lord it is not just one standalone night game that I believe that we had last year when we were all wondering where is an afternoon game after the year before, Burns. We had like 5 games on that Sunday.
Yeah, wacky.
They can't make up their mind.
Just get rid of the Monday game. Give us like 4 games on Sunday.
Sure, right. So Sunday we have 2 games, and we're going to talk about them. Starting with Virginia Tech taking on South Carolina. This game is also a neutral site game in Atlanta at Mercedes-Benz. Sunday, 2 p.m. Central on ESPN. South Carolina, they are an 8.5-point favorite on the neutral site, and the over-under is 49.5. Do you feel like South Carolina continues the progress that they built from last year and just dominates this Virginia Tech team?
Yeah. You always worry about a team that ends with so much hype. But, I look at this Virginia Tech team. We kind of are on a little bit different sides of them. I'm not as confident in them as you are. And that's not saying you're overly confident in them. It's just I think they're not a very good team. And you see some hope in them. So – and then you're on the opposite side. I think you're a little further down on South Carolina than I am on South Carolina. So this is an antithesis game of this podcast here between hosts. Yeah, I really think South Carolina shouldn't really have any problems at all taking care of Virginia Tech. I just don't think it's defensively there. I don't think they're there physically. I think South Carolina is going to overpower them, and it's a weird number, 7.5, right? So anything can happen. Keeping that to a one-score game, especially something wacky late. But as long as Lenore Sellers stays healthy in this game, I see this South Carolina team covering, but it will not be on my card. So I've yet to place a wager on that.
Sure. I mean, when I look at this game, I think Virginia Tech is really coming into the season with a chip on their shoulder. Kyron Drones, their quarterback from last season, didn't have himself the best year, and he was kind of banged up. And now he returns, and he's going to get a chance to make a statement in this opening game. And I just like Virginia Tech with a chip on their shoulder, and I think they're going to do better this year with that mindset as opposed to last year. And on the South Carolina side of things, I mean, their quarterback, Lenore Sellers, I mean, I don't think he's going to be the issue if South Carolina loses this game. I mean, he's a playmaker. He's super dynamic. He's got an unbelievable rocket arm. He can make plays with his legs and bulldoze people like Cam Newton used to be able to do, or like a Josh Allen. He's pretty fucking awesome. But at the end of the day, I just have some concerns about South Carolina losing some guys. I don't think they're quite as good as they were last year, at least from a roster standpoint. It might take them some time to ramp up and hit their ceiling and hit their potential. So if I'm getting 8.5 points with a power school ACC versus SEC here, I'll take Virginia Tech on the neutral site. So that's just how I see it.
Sure, more power to you.
And the final Sunday game in Miami, we got Notre Dame returning to the site of where they beat Penn State in last year's college football playoff. This time taking on the Hurricanes at their home field. Sunday, 6:30 p.m. Central, ABC. Notre Dame on the road, a 2.5-point favorite. Over under 49.5. Burns, what are your thoughts on Notre Dame, Miami?
Yeah, there's a couple funny stats when you dig into it. Like Notre Dame hasn't won the last 6 at Miami, but that's dating over decades, so it's like none of that actually matters. When people say, "Oh, you bring up like stats like in Nebraska since 2017 or whatever," yeah, that's because schools have what's called an identity. And if they play a certain type of football, that identity can be shaped in certain stats that you can pull, even though the teams might be completely different.
Let them know, Burns.
But these individual games, that has no bearing. That being said, I'm picking Miami to win. Just going on what's Notre Dame, they're just going to be up against it. I still have this team as a playoff team. I just think that Miami is set to win today. I think we talked about this last year with actually Miami and Florida, where picked a Florida team. No, we picked a Miami team to win week 1. So not necessarily think that we might pick Miami in week 10 against that same team. I believe if you go back and look at, I think that kind of falls in line with the same rationale of what I'm looking at here. Just a few more question marks on Notre Dame's side that I would probably pick them to beat Miami later in the season if they somehow saw each other in the playoffs. But where we stand with both teams and who's ready to go right now, I am growing a little bit fonder of Carson Beck in this Miami role. And I think defensively they're kind of getting back to a old school Miami defensive powerhouse. So I like Miami's money line if you're going to give me the plus sign.
I see it the same way. I think for me, I agree. Carson Beck has grown on me a little bit over these last couple of months. I definitely think he was hurt last year. That's not to excuse some of his poor performances and honestly some bad body language as well. But all in all, I think this is a good fresh start for Beck. I think Miami is juiced up about this game. I think they want to come out and make a statement against a team that was just in the national championship game in Notre Dame last season. Ultimately, Burns, I mean, Notre Dame has a lot of returning talent. Very good left tackle, very good running back in Jeremiah Love. They have They have some studs in the secondary, specifically at corner. There's a lot to like about ND, but for me, I think this game comes down to CJ Carr, Notre Dame's starting quarterback, who's making his first career start in this game. I think that's really what it comes down to. I mean, if CJ Carr goes out and plays very well, then my prediction would be Notre Dame wins. But I think when push comes to shove and you need some of those 3rd and 8s, 3rd and 11s, 3rd and 5s, whatever it might look like, I expect Miami to have more success on the defensive side than I do Notre Dame to have more success on the offensive side. So that's why I lean Miami to get the job done.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. We're on the same. Luckily, we're not on the same side of the biggest game of them all. But yeah, this could also be like our Notre Dame Texas A&M from last year, where it's just a defensive snooze, and Notre Dame could win a game like that if Miami's offense does not show up.
True. Yep. All right. Did you want to talk anything at all about the TCU North Carolina game on Monday night?
Man, not really, because we're still waiting on a quarterback. So I'll probably talk about that on Friday's show, but a live show when we update any sort of last minute and any card ads. Anyway, when I look at that game, I'm leaning North Carolina. I just think that the way that team is built, I think physicality could win. A decent matchup. The TCU team I'm not too high on. And that's really just what I'm looking at in that game, not to dive too deep.
Sure. All right. Shall we move on to the teaser?
Yes, absolutely. Let me pull that up here. It's a teaser week 1.
Sponsored by Miller Lite.
Oh, man, it is. I will ask you this, even though I already made the graphic, so we could change it. But my teaser has a Friday game on there.
Oh, this guy. This guy roasts anyone who would ever put a Friday game on a teaser. And then the first one of the year, he decides to make a statement.
Should I pick another team?
The hypocrisy. What do you think about being a hypocrite? Thoughts?
Not the greatest feeling.
Fair. No, I don't care. That's fine.
Yeah, so that Friday game is San Jose State, Central Michigan. It's on my card. San Jose State is going to win by more than 11.5. Let's just say that nicely. I would think they could win by more than 11.5, double that. So put them in the teaser. UNLV. Sorry, I have 2 Friday games.
Oh my God. This is when he drops the bomb.
Yeah, a rare matchup of week 0 teams playing week 1. UNLV, Sam Houston State. This game is going over, folks. And you're going to give me 55 points after the teaser? Yeah, we'll take that. Both teams cruising over. Not enough time to bounce back. They have a lot of question marks on defensive side of the ball. And then Georgia Southern over Fresno State. Like I said, Fresno is they're a bottom barrel team for me. So give me Georgia Southern teased over to +5.
Sure. On my end, I'm teasing Syracuse from +14 to +20.5. I'm teasing LSU from +3.5 to +10. And UCLA hosts Utah on Saturday night. And UCLA is a 6-point home dog. Let's tease them up to 13.5.
Yeah, let's do that.
Or 12.5. 6.5. Yeah, 6.5. 12.
Oh yeah, it is 12.5.
Why do you have that weird expression on your face?
I just don't. That's a wait and see team for me personally. I could be completely wrong, but UCLA, I just don't want a dollar near that team until I actually see some ball played.
I
That's my
mean,
only thoughts.
you saw the quarterback. He showed guts and heart against your Buckeyes last year.
Sure did.
He definitely
Easy
got
to,
that. He definitely got that first down on that running play.
yeah, sure. And that was definitely an interception that definitely wasn't in the back of the end zone.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that's teaser. I have a feeling that might be altered by Friday when we release uh, our full cards. I'm going to take those Friday games out. That's just I can't do that to the teaser crowd.
Okay.
I do really like those games though.
I mean, you said San Jose State is going to win by like 20 points, so I'm assuming that's your lock of the week.
No, it's not, but it was
Of course.
close. Well, no, because it was a Friday, it's not my lock of the week. It's my second lock of the week.
Okay.
All right. Anyway, up next, I got the annual parlay, the weekend parlay here. This one's a little friskier though. This is the
Yeah.
highest it's ever been. Where every year on this opening weekend where we have games every single day, pick one game. So I got USF money line Thursday. You roll that into Baylor money line Friday. Those are 2+ money dogs. Then you got basically a pick 'em in Georgia Southern on Saturday, -125. Give us another plus money, Miami on Sunday. And then caps us all off with Coach Bill at +136 on Monday. That parlay pays 53-1. 5 legs. Yeah. And those are all obviously very winnable dogs.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That could definitely hit. Will it? Probably not, but it definitely could.
Oh man. Don't you put that fucking energy in here, bud. Speaking of, will it? Alex Mayer's card and his lock. Why don't you help us out here?
Yes, sir. So my lock is Georgia Tech, -4.5. Man, if I can get a 4, I'll take the 4. Against Colorado on Friday night. I expect them to emphatically start their season with a road dub against Coach Prime, who I love, but I also love Brent Key, Georgia Tech's head coach. I love the quarterback, Haynes King, and I just like the direction that the program has been heading in over the last couple of years. Remember, this is the same team that played Georgia last year in that 8 overtime thriller on Black Friday, and look, this is just a different Georgia Tech team. They're just a much better team. I believe in them. I'm buying the stock. We'll see if they make me look smart or if they make me look dumb on Friday. But I'm going with Georgia Tech as my first lock of the season. And then as far as the card goes, Burns, I'll be quick. Buffalo +18 against Minnesota. If I'm that high on Buffalo in the season preview at the MAC, I have to take him getting 18 points against Minnesota, who's starting a brand new quarterback. So I'll take Buffalo. Take Nebraska -6.5 against Cincinnati on Thursday. We've already talked about that. I'm on Baylor money line against Auburn. And then Saturday, I'm on Texas money line against Ohio State, Northwestern +7 against Tulane, Syracuse +14 against Tennessee, UCLA +6 against Utah. I expect this game to be frisky, and I like UCLA being at home in this spot. So I'll go ahead and take the points. I'll take the Bruins for a frisky Saturday night game. And then Sunday, I'm on Virginia Tech plus the points, and I'm on Miami money line. So that, sir, is my card.
Obviously, optics wise, we're going to need to put a note in there, but really just more of like that's what being a good better is getting the number at what you feel is right. So not going to be any issues with your Northwestern, but my question is, what would you play it down to?
Yeah. I probably would play it down to 6. I wouldn't go anything smaller than 6.
Okay. So where it's at currently in the 5.5, you would not. have on your card.
Correct.
Okay. All right. Good.
Very sharp of me.
Yes. Healthy card. Healthy card. All right. Slightly more, but pretty much the same number. Just a few games here and there added. Thursday, Friday. Yeah, I like UCF or USF against Boise in that first game on Thursday, +6. Might be sprinkling the money line. I like Wisconsin over Miami of Ohio, just that matchup, like we talked about. I will lay 17.5 there. Nebraska, Cincy, I like the under, 53.5. So I'll be on the under in that game. Friday, Baylor money line. Yep, same thing as Mayor. We'll be on Baylor. And then Central Michigan and San Jose State, as you can see there, doubled my wager. So I'm very, very happy to lay the 11.5 points with San Jose State. Georgia Tech at Colorado. I like the over 54.5. Should be a good game. Interesting to see if that take is the right side. Ohio State -1.5, lay 2 units there. Under in Northwestern Tulane. I like Toledo with 9.5. At Kentucky, just a unit. And then Georgia Southern, that should be changed since that's my lock of the week. Should be 2.5 units there, -125, just on their money line. At Fresno, yeah, just way too down on Fresno and trust JC French and this Georgia Southern team, what Clay Helton's kind of built there, 3 straight bowls. And yeah, I'm happy laying that small number. LSU +155 at Clemson. Yeah, like you said, we'll know kind of right away if we're in it or not.
Yep.
Sunday. Yep, Sunday we got Miami on the card. And then it's Moneyline and Monday, North Carolina on the card. That's subject to change. We will release those on our main accounts on Friday, and I'll flash through them on College Football Last Call live show at 5:30 Eastern on Friday as well.
Yeah, sounds good. I mean, obviously, it's incredible to have college football back, and it's so fun that we get to do these cards again. But honestly, dude, like this doesn't even feel like a meat and potato type of card. There's still so many games out there, so many teams that are 30, 40 point favorites because they're playing smaller schools. And yeah, those are just my thoughts.
Yeah, as you can see, we're not very big in the highlighting any of the big spread games. Almost wanted to talk about Georgia and possibly them getting over on Marshall by themselves. I think that totals at 55.5. So might add Georgia team total to the card. And then also Texas State team total against Eastern Michigan. It's just sitting right there at a key number, 35.5. If I'm going to play that, I might as well add a couple points and get a line closer to +100 for what I like there. So, yeah, like I said, keep an eye out for our final cards. Also, no quad box parlay because, I mean, I was looking at the networks and just the way the games are set up for not technically a full card on Saturday, obviously a full card weekend, but on Saturday specifically, I'm just not really sure what the quad boxes are going to be. So we're going to launch the first iteration of the quad box in week 2. Week 2, we'll have it up and running.
Yep. Hopefully by the time y'all are listening to this, Fox and YouTube TV have come to an agreement and we can put this whole nightmare behind us.
God bless.
But this is fun, man. Can't wait. Can't wait to watch the games. Can't wait to be doing this with you throughout the season. And hopefully we have more winners than we do losers.
Hopefully. No, we definitely will, Alex. We definitely will. Don't forget to parlay those locks.
Yes, our locks were very, very good last season. So I would concur. But thank you all for listening. Much appreciated. And we'll see you next week.
Bye-bye. Love you guys.